Hey guys, how we doing? I wanted to go over a bit of a meme build idea that I wanted to get finished before I swapped back over to hardcore trade, because I am intending actually on swapping back to hardcore trade relatively soon. I've been having a lot of problems with my internet connection over honestly like the better part of the last 6 months or so, but we are finally getting a new ISP installed with a fiber line. And according to the information that we've gotten from the company and what they're promising us on paper for the money we're paying, it should be more than twice as good as my current connection. Fingers crossed that it actually works out. So yeah, that will probably herald the return of me back to hardcore. But while I'm here in softcore trade and I've got some currency to burn, I wanted to play something that I probably wouldn't really be able to play in hardcore trade, and that is a zombie minion instability build. Now, I talked over this build with Dire Gray, who is a excellent streamer and Path of Exile content creator, and you should definitely go check him out. He's been playing Flame Dash Ignite this league. It's really, really cool. And this is the path of building that I like bounced off of him, and he gave me a little bit of advice here and there and all that sort of thing. But this is still very much subject to change. I'm probably going to get started leveling it soon. I do still have that Frostbolt build that I want to finish as well, so I've got a few projects going on. But I'll break down exactly what we're doing here. So we are using, this is another alt quality scaling build. We are using, there's a couple different versions to this. As I said, it's not set in stone. But this version, which is the one that has me most convinced, is using Phantasmal Ray Zombie. I mean, they both are. And this version uses it in a Crest of Desire. Now, the reason for that is we need to scale the quality up as much as we possibly can. Phantasmal Ray Zombie causes minions, the zombies, to take chaos damage equal to 20% of their life over 1 second when raised. That is 1-to-1 with quality scaling. So if I hover the Ray Zombie, you'll see it has 20 baseline plus 80, so 100% quality, which means that minions take 100% of their maximum life over 1 second when raised. And minion instability is 50%. They will explode. So as soon as they reach that threshold, they'll go pop. And deal damage based off of the amount of life they have, which we scale through tons of different means, be that on the passive tree, through clusters, through gear, since you can get jewels that give minion life, you can get Essence of Fear crafted gear that gives minion life, all that sort of good stuff, and we get a total zombie life of 175,000, which leads to an average minion instability damage of 1 million per explosion. Now, the reason why I'm doing it this way, and there are a lot of ways you can build this. This is minion instability in general is one of the builds that has the most variance of different strategies and approaches that I've come across in a long, long while. So just to get ahead of a number of the suggestions that I am sure I will see in chat, I don't really want to use a replica Arendals because part of the idea here is to be able to use a Mon'Tregul's Grasp, which is why we need so much quality, because Mon'Tregul's Grasp will give the raised zombies resistances, and it says all resistances, not elemental, so it will give them chaos res, which will make them more resilient to the chaos damage they're taking from the alternate quality. But the upside is we will get 5,000 base life on the zombies, which is scaled by all of our life multipliers, and enemies killed by zombies explode, dealing 20% of their max life as fire damage. Minion instability does count as a kill from the zombie, so it should cause those explosions, and that should be really nice for our clear. On top of that, increased zombie size may cause bigger explosions, but I'm not certain on that. So yeah, if we want to use Mon'Tregul's, then we obviously can't use a replica Arendals. We could use a replica Arendals in the offhand, but I want to use a shield as well, because I want, one, to have that slot for minion life scaling to get bigger individual explosions, and two, I want to actually get block and use bone offering and that sort of thing and reach a pretty good block total with the build. So we can't really dual wield scepters either, so we can't go for the Arendals here. So replica Arendals is not really an option that I'm willing to go for on this build, but that does not make it inherently a bad option. You could definitely use that and use Infernal Legion in the links and get a more classic version of the build going that way, but I have a really particular idea of what I want to do here. Now, the reason why this build works in the first place is Alcuna's Will, which allows you to raise zombies without needing a corpse, and therefore I can just kind of cast it at things and not need to desecrate then raise zombie in order to actually cast my damage, my minions, my explosions. So we are going to be using Akuna's Will, and the Crest of Desire version, like I said, is necessary in order to counteract the Chaos Res from Mon'Tregul's. And I do actually have a 6 link here that I've already prepared with links that include an enhance at level 3 or 4, depending if you can get one. And that simply doesn't give you enough degen to counteract the Chaos Res, because zombies have baseline 20 Chaos Res, and then Mon'Tregul's gives them 25, so 45 Chaos Res. And this, even with a level 4 enhance, is only 74% of maximum life taken as chaos damage, and the res counteracts that to the point where they don't drop below half. Now, I could then run Arundel's Embrace, or I could run Infernal Legion. But if I run Infernal Legion, it's worse damage than if I just run the Helmet, and don't have any links, and just run the I always forget the name of this, the Crest of Desire. So going Infernal Legion in the 6th link with Enhance doesn't really make sense over a Crest of Desire, because it's just worse while being a higher mana cost. And like I said, I don't want to run Replica Arundel's. I could also, in theory, run Fortress Covenant in the links on my tree and convert a bunch of notables. If you don't know how Fortress Covenant works, any notables within its radius get converted into a notable that instead just gives you minions take 20% increased damage, which is supposed to be a downside, but in a build where you're trying to actively kill your minions as quickly as possible, sort of becomes an upside. So I could put it like here, and then all of these notables in this radius would turn into minions take 20% increased damage. But that is massively passive point intensive, and drops passive points and jewels to the point where it isn't really better damage than just running a Crest of Desire. So like every setup that I've looked at basically just equals Crest of Desire, but is more steps and is more complicated and comes with some other downside, like losing life, or having a higher mana cost or something like that. So Crest of Desire really does just kind of solve all of our problems. It costs us links. It costs us things like minion life or combustion, but combustion we can access the damage from still by using a Armor Brand Combustion Hex Touch link setup to apply our flammability. And minion life is strong, but it's made up for by the gem level scaling and the quality scaling from the Crest of Desire and the guaranteed double damage, which also means we don't need to invest points in a Grave Pact and can instead throw those points at Cluster Jewels. So yeah, that was a whole long-winded little bit to get ahead of what I'm sure will be a lot of suggestions on how else I could make the minions explode. I have messed with this quite a bit at this point. That's not to say that I'm not open to suggestions. If you have anything that I didn't touch on, any clever tricks or something, leave them in the comments below. I also don't want to give up all of my flasks, so I won't be using Umbilicus Immortalis. That is another option. But giving up all of my flasks will make the build feel awful to play. I have played that version of the build in the past. It's not very fun. So I'm not going to be going that route. And I think there's one called Mother's Embrace as well, which is potentially usable. I need to test whether this actually causes them to explode if you combine this with Coruscating Elixir. If it does actually make them explode when combined with Coruscating Elixir, it is certainly an option over even going for the alt quality at that point, because the alt quality would become moot if you just get the flask sustain. And maybe this is really good on like a Scion, so you can go Pathfinder Necro or something like that. Could be pretty darn powerful, but I have not tested it in-game, and I'm not sure that it actually works, so I'm not planning around it at the moment. Current belt slot choice is Darkness Enthroned, because jewels are really, really powerful for this build, Abyss Jewels in particular, though Replica Siegebreaker is a great budget option. Replica Siegebreaker brings down our average hit quite a bit, not default attack. Our minion stability average hit goes down by about 150k, but we then get about a 200 to 240k Burning Ground, which leads to being roughly the same DPS as having the Darkness Enthroned, but just a little less life for me as, you know, the player. I do also care about not dying myself. Anyways, let's get into some of the itemization here outside of just the core that I just described. We've got a lot of emphasis on cast speed. Zombies have a really low base cast time. So even with cast speed on both rings and a cast speed corruption on our weapon, and even cast speed corrupted Aukuna's Wills with a good roll, we still reach about 2.3, 2.5 casts a second, which means that this 1 million average hit translates to about 2.3 to 2.5 million DPS, which is acceptable. That is enough damage, but it's going to be a little bit clunky. Like I said at the beginning of the video, this is something of a meme build that I wanted to put together while I was still here in softcore. As far as solving mana is concerned, we go for Eldritch Battery, which allows us to reserve all of our mana for various defensive and offensive benefits. And with the Ascendancy, I've gone for Unnatural Strength, Bone Barrier, and Mistress of Sacrifice. I'm very much considering dropping Unnatural Strength, as we have so much gem level scaling from the helmet already. It may be worth trying to go for Corpse Pact, but it's hard to find 4 points to cut. 2 points to cut is reasonable, but 4 is pretty difficult. I could, in theory, drop all of this and do that, and then pick up Bone Barrier through jewels, but that's very, very expensive, as it costs like 25x for both of those jewels together, and it would also cost me 2 jewel sockets. The last thing I want to touch on is the jewels, actually, so that's a nice transition there. The cluster jewels and the rare jewels are the most expensive part of this build by a mile. The cluster jewels are not going to be that hard to roll, I don't think, as we can just do life rerolls on mediums, and 6-point medium bases are not very expensive. We want the 6 points because each point on a 12% life node is actually pretty efficient, so I think the 6-point ones are correct. But the large 8-point minion jewels can be a little pricey, and rolling one of these with exactly the right mods that I want is going to take a lot of effort. More expensive, though, are going to be the Abyss Jewels. We want many, many Abyss Jewels, and in a search that I threw together pretty roughly, it looks like the minimum price tag for each is 1 to 2x, as we want life, minion life, and damage if you've used a minion skill recently, because we always will have used a minion skill because we're casting Raised Zombie. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those that we want, so that's between 6 and, 10 exalts for just those jewels together. I may be able to craft some of them myself, again with life rerolls on Ghastly Eye jewel bases, but yeah, it's going to take a little bit of doing to gather those all up. Just 2 properties instead of 3 gets incredibly cheap, though. If you just go for life and minion life or something like that, it's like 5 to 10 C at most, so you can definitely get, some slightly subpar versions until you can afford the better ones if you are interested in this build. I don't know that I would 100% recommend it, though, especially not having played it just yet. And with all the issues that it may end up having, but I'm really excited for it, even if it's a meme. I think I'm going to have a good time, and yeah, I'll be leveling this soon on the stream. Perhaps not tomorrow, I might do one more day of grinding to get the currency together, but soon. I'll be leveling it soon. Thanks for watching, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.